Excellencies, distinguished participants, it is such a pleasure to be part of this ministerial panel session representing UNDP. Our focus is on the energy, food, and finance nexus in achieving sustainable development goals, and this is well overdue. I appreciate that our esteemed panelists who see this nexus play out in what they have to manage and respond to every day in different countries' situations. It's very, very real to them and to all of us. The distressing fact is that our region is not on track to achieve any of the SDGs by 2030, with projections suggesting that at the current pace, we won't be able to do so until 2065. The predicament the region faces is that of a polycrisis, which is a cocktail of disruptive forces where the whole is far more dangerous than the sum of its parts. Now, the interplay between energy, food, and finance has exacerbated these disruptions significantly, hitting those most vulnerable the hardest, and it does so at a more rapid rate. This reminds us of how skyrocketing food and energy prices have dramatically intensified consumption inequalities, while strained financial conditions and thin social protection systems provide little relief. We have seen these harsh impacts in countries such as Sri Lanka, for example, where 86% of households resorted to eating less or skipping meals altogether, compromising the nutrition of a generation. But they had to cope with soaring food and energy prices. Or picture Afghanistan, where 20 million people today grapple with acute food insecurity. Similarly, we have witnessed turmoil on energy pricing markets, particularly among net fuel importing countries as diverse as Cambodia, Pakistan, and Vanuatu. Almost every country in our region has been affected. So this period of polycrisis has exerted immense pressure on governments' budgets. And while the cost of borrowing has risen sharply, especially for middle-income countries, which is the majority of the countries and territories in our region, while revenue sources remain fragile for many. And when faced with the unenviable choices of where to concentrate public funds, that is where we come in with a central tenet of UN and UNDP's messaging to countries of the high-value, high-return investments that must be in its people and in its natural assets. Keeping both safe, healthy, growing, and protected are at the heart of what we promote and support. Money is never too tight to do so if the tough but right decisions are made, and some leaders do. Clean fuel technologies have seen significant growth in recent years, particularly in our region. If you look at large countries like China, India, and Indonesia, we see the growth of new technologies helping in both the food and energy industries. However, even they have had difficulties reaching rural areas with renewables, and they also continue to show growth in fossil fuel use. We will continue to see rapid regression in our SDG goals, particularly those on climate action, with irreversible consequences if we do not redress this trend very soon. So our SDG report that is in front of you, prepared jointly by ESCAP, ADB, and UNDP, offers some suggestions in transforming the ways in which we approach the food, energy, finance mix. First, there is considerable scope for enhancing our analysis of these interwoven components that then provides the evidence to move beyond isolated efforts to anticipate and address the multi-pronged nature of challenges in our evolving development landscape. Second, increased policy ingenuity must drive new financing instruments that are not all debt-leaning, but also revenue-generating, and bring in new industry and new tech, new forms of taxation, and a combination of equity and swap instruments that also brings in responsible market capital. This is a must. Third, identifying bottlenecks to implementation, including through improved business and governance practices, extending digital technologies for both service delivery and greater transparency, and firm oversight mechanisms that root out corrupt or inefficient practices is a must. So these will be the make or break in our read of which countries will come out ahead. This is about mending or renewing social contracts. In other words, the trust between governments and people. Thank you.